I love Cebu. I love Cebu. Daw paraiso ang kaanindot mo. Ang mga tao wag kay ikareklamo. Bisag asa ko paingon way buwas ang pag ko. Magpabilin ka ning dughan ko. I love Cebu. Bahandi ka ning dughan ko. I love Cebu.
Over to you, Preeti.
Thank you, Moma. So welcome everybody to the 2024 SVRI Research Grants Award Ceremony. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to announce and celebrate this year's winners of the SVRI Research Grants Knowledge to Action to End Violence Against Women and Violence Against Children. So just a little bit of background before we start. SVRI is really dedicated to funding research to support the prevention of and response to violence against women and violence against children in low and middle income countries, where the resources are scarce and the need for them is really high. We are also committed to decolonizing knowledge, to supporting ethical funding, and also supporting feminist approaches to research. Next slide, please. So before we get into the agenda, I just wanted to get some housekeeping items out of the way. So this webinar is going to be a 60-minute long webinar. This will be a webinar where all participants are going to be muted. The session is being recorded and the recording will be made available on the SVRI website post the session today. We will not be opening verbal dialogues with the participants, but we would really love to hear from you. So please introduce yourself in the chat box. Tell us a bit about who you are, where are you dialing in from? If you have any questions, please use the question answer function at the bottom of the screen, and we will try our best to answer all the questions that we can within the time that we have. So welcome once again. Moma, next slide, please. So going over the agenda, today we have a packed agenda where we're going to hear from our keynote speaker. Also, we'll learn a bit more about SVRI's research grants, how the grant has come to being where it is today. And we are also going to have a very interesting panel with past SVRI award winners. We're going to learn from their insights and their experiences. And of course, we have a new cohort of grantees for 2024. We will be introducing them and their projects to you through a video that we have prepared, especially for the occasion today. Next slide. So I take pleasure in inviting our keynote speaker for today, Ms. Lisa Mossberg, to give her keynote speech today. Ms. Lisa is the coordinator for the Swedish Global Strategy on Gender Equality and Women's and Girls' Rights with the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SVRI. A political scientist by training with a Masters of European Affairs degree from London University. Mosberg has spent 25 years in development cooperation. She has worked with women's rights organizations in the Balkans, with the Quina Foundation, excuse me for my pronunciation, and has managed gender mainstreaming programs at UNDP in Albania. Lisa Mosberg joined SIDA in 2006 and has had several posts, including as the Gender Advisor for the Humanitarian Unit, Democracy and Human Rights Program Officer, and Department Coordinator at the Department for Europe and Latin America. Since 2018, Lisa coordinates SIDA's implementation of Swedish strategy for gender equality and women's and girls' rights. We are very glad to have you today with us. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you so much, Preeti, and it's so nice to be here with all of you. I'm very happy for that, proud and honored to give an introductory speech. So why are we here and why is this important? I'm sure everyone here we do know the bigger problem. We know that globally 1 in 3 women experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, and an estimated 137 women are killed by a family member daily. These rates have worsened due to the pandemic. And we know that the suffering and the impact of violence against women and violence against children is something that cycles across generations. We also do know that women and children living in under-resourced communities and those facing other forms of discrimination, ableism, racism, homophobia, for instance, are living, and those that are living in times of conflict and in humanitarian settings, they experience particularly high levels of gender-based violence. And in the even bigger picture, we do know a lot of things about gender equality and how gender-based violence relates to gender inequality. We know that we are living in a reality where men still are valued more than women and have more access to power, resources, and prospects. And we know that gender inequality is both a consequence and a cause of gender-based violence. And we need research to highlight these. And we know from the research that many of us have been part of that countries that report high levels of gender inequality also report high levels of gender-based violence and violence against women. And we also know from research that while both men and women experience violence, men experience violence from other men, and women fear men and experience violence often at home, and violence that are more serious as a result, and are seriously harmed of this violence. So gender inequality and gender-based violence are negatively reinforcing. It's also a development problem, of course. It limits the opportunities for development of communities and countries. So it's something that should be relevant, of course, to everyone. We have obstacles in this work, all of us knowing this. We do know that the funding for both gender-based violence, work against gender-based violence in general, is scarce. We don't have enough overseas development aid money, and it's not strategically directed to this key challenge. We also know that funds for research and innovation, methods development is also limited, which is limiting the opportunities to move ahead towards effective programming. This evidence gap in evidence building, this investment gap in evidence building is worrying, and research is essential to ensure that we present relevant solutions. And policymakers cannot improve services if they are not working based on good research. We also know another challenge is that the research and evidence gaps are more serious in low and middle income countries. And that is maybe where the capacity and resources are more needed to set up good programs. So I am very happy to see that all of us here are a little bit, to some extent, part of these challenges presented. This grant, supported by SIDA, I'm very happy and proud partner to SVRI in this, is addressing this inequality through providing research grants to researchers in lower and middle income countries. And in providing that, we do know it's a very effective program. It's reaching out and it provide important levers for change at country and global scale. I have been following this program over the years, and I've been so happy to hear that grantees being part of in the grant recipient cohort experience increased research capacity, of course, that they are able to deepen their perspectives of feminist research, and being part of a community and a network to exchange learnings is important, and to get in the understanding of the importance and the tools of addressing ethics while conducting research. Research from SVRI grantees is also contributing to furthering the knowledge in the field. And I'm thinking there are so many examples, of course, but to know what the problem is at heart, I think, in broader programming as well. But for instance, the research that exposed the exceptional vulnerability of migrant children on the Western Balkan migrant route. And also that study brings into sharp focus the need for urgent trauma-informed responses from development agencies like us. So I'm very proud to be part of this work, the broader program that strives to disrupt power hierarchies that exist in research and in development by ensuring the voices of low and middle income researchers and practitioners, and that are included in setting what gets researched, by whom, how, and where. And also by supporting research and evidence generation in ways that ensure it influences policy and practice. And by providing mentorship and support for researchers and practitioners to create sustainable research environment and funding pipelines. And by working with decision makers to advocate for more and better research resources for evidence building on violence against women and violence against children in low and middle income countries. This grant that is guided by the research principles that are identified by the field and for the field, I think that's a key notion here, and led by researchers from the communities in the research is meant to serve. It undoubtedly serves to ensure that the research makes a difference underground. So I am proud of being part of the work you are doing. It's very important. Thank you, and back to you, Preeti.
Thank you, Lisa, for your really kind words and acknowledging SVRI's contribution. And thank you for all the support you have lent to SVRI over these years. We hope we continue this very healthy partnership going ahead. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Elizabeth Dartnell, Executive Director of SVRI, to give us a small presentation on the history of SVRI. To introduce Liz. Liz is a health specialist with more than 20 years of experience in research policy making in health systems and violence against women and children. Liz has been with SVRI since 2006, and in 2018, she ushered SVRI through to its new stage as an independent NGO. So over to you, Liz.
Thank you so much, Priti. While Morma's putting up the slides, just for those of you who aren't aware of the Sexual Violence Research Initiative, we are with over 11,000 plus members, one of the largest networks working to really advance research on violence against women and children in low and middle income countries. And thank you, Lisa, for those kind words about the work and this grant and how important it is, because we were established in 2003 by a really passionate group of researchers and practitioners who saw that there was a real deep inequity and a real need to redress the way in which research is being funded and supported, with most of those research resources, as Lisa spoke about, sitting in high-income countries, while very little research resources were coming to us in low and middle-income countries or the global south. And even less of those resources were being led by the researchers that are based in those countries who best know what the priorities are and are closer to the communities that we're doing that research for. And so while most of this issue does remain a little bit unsolved, I am optimistic that things are getting better, and through things like the SVRI grant, with support from CEDA, funding partners and partners like CEDA, that things are changing. And as Preeti spoke about, we have recently, in 2019, established ourselves as an independent NGO. We were hosted at WHO before moving to the Medical Research Council in South Africa, to really work on ensuring that research is firmly embedded in low and middle income country needs and priorities. And we're doing this through building evidence, strengthening capacity, promoting partnerships and influencing change. And every 2 years we host the SVRI Forum, and we really hope that all of you will join us in South Africa for SVRI Forum 2024, which will be in Cape Town. Please put that in your diaries. So next slide, please, Morma. And thank you to Morma, our wonderful webinar producer of today. We've been grant making in different ways since 2012. And in 2013, we formally launched the SVRI grant with support from an anonymous donor. And then 2015 and 2020, we created a pooled fund with the World Bank Group, where the World Bank Group and the SVRI jointly funded grants over a period of 5 years, after which we launched the SVRI Research Grant, with funding from our wonderful funding partners, an anonymous donor, the Oak Foundation, and of course CEDA. Thank you so much to all our funding partners, because over this time, with this incredible support and funding, and of course with excellent research proposals to fund, we've been able to support grants up to $9 million US. And today we're going to be announcing the new cohort of 2024. So where has the research taken place? Next slide, please, Morma. As you can see from this graph, we've really worked hard to ensure that regional diversity exists within our grant making portfolio. As we choose the grants, we really try to make sure that we get at least one grant from each region, with 40% of the grants being awarded in Africa, 19% in Latin America and the Caribbean, 16% in Asia, and 12% in East Asia, and then 7 to 9% between Europe and Central Asia and MENA. And most of our grantees have been come from researchers and practitioners and evidence builders based in NGOs and universities in low and middle income countries. And we will continue to strive for greater diversity and inclusion from all global regions, from low and middle income countries, and to increase the smaller regions so that they can get a bigger pot of the pie. So that's something on our vision board, and we're working towards that. So please do send in your proposals, and so we can try and support you or find funding to really support the excellent work that's being done globally. So what do the voices of our grantees say? As Lisa spoke about, the grantee partners do talk about the impact of having a grant like this on their research and their work. But I'm not going to talk too much detail about this, because we have an incredible panel that's going to talk about this from a more personal perspective. But we did do an evaluation some years back, and I want to note that SVRI provides a very non-traditional feminist way of funding. And the way that we fund is informed by and firmly rooted in our recently published guidance on ethical funding for research on violence against women and children in low and middle income countries. And the work that we're doing is based on feedback from our grantee partners, who did tell us that whilst we're doing okay, there are ways that we can do it better, and we are learning and striving to ensure that we integrate that feedback into our current call and our next call. And we're going to share the link to that guide, and I'd really invite you to look at it, review it, use it, and let us know what you think of it. So I think just before I finish and end here, I want to just tell you a little bit about what we like to see in proposals. And not just the SVRI, we have an expert panel of 3 levels of peer review. So it's a very lengthy process that we go through, which is why it takes so long for us to get back to you. We receive over 400, around about 400 applications every year, and unfortunately can only fund a very small amount of those. And we go through 3 sets of peer review. But what during those processes of peer review, what do we like to see? So next slide, please, Morma. For you, those of you considering applying for an SVRI research grant, what really delights us to see in proposals is it upfront clearly, how is your study building on the existing evidence? Show us that you really have taken a deep dive into the research that's currently published and practice-based knowledge, and how your research is really addressing a gap in the field. And Lisa spoke about those research priorities that have been developed by the field for the field, and we'll share links to those. Look at them when you're considering a research question, because the field has said these are what are the gaps that they are seeing in these fields that will really advance our work over the next 5 to 10 years. And we are really looking for research and programs that is based on the existing gaps that's going to strengthen policy and practice and improve the field and the way in which we do research. We really, really do like research and applications from local organisations based in low and middle income countries, I've already mentioned. And we appreciate proposals that are from multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral consortiums, because we know that only by working together can we address these complex, wicked problems that we are facing. And linked to this last point, we really love those consortiums being led by researchers and evidence builders based in low and middle income countries. And that means that we don't not want proposals from partnerships that include high income country researchers, but we really support and fund research that is led by the research partners based in the Global South. And if that proposal consortium is from a consortium, we really want to know who's going to be doing what in that team, how was the partnership conceived, and is it equitable? And we really want reassurance that there is someone on the team that does have expertise in doing this type of research. If not, we are happy to help identify folk after the proposal's been through review to bring in technical assistance and support for that. But we really love researchers with expertise in the field, working with programmers and evidence builders. So we are working for a real collaborative approach to research. We also really love proposals that look at ways to think about building the capacity of early career researchers in the team. And of course, we love receiving proposals that look at methods and tools. And that is research that really strives to answer the questions on how do we do this research better? Because we are field builders, so we really need to be doing, work moving forward with answering innovative research questions and supporting research questions that are going to move the field forward. We really want to make sure that you've considered all the ethical issues that you can be aware of and how you are ensuring your findings are going to reach those that are going to be able to use them, those with the power that can implement your findings. So how are you going to be sharing your research findings, both from the start and throughout the research process? And of course, we love clear, logical budgets and sound budget justifications. And one more key issue for us is your abstract, your short summary of your study. We receive many proposals, as I've already said. And so your abstract is an important window into your work and a very important tool that we do use to help shortlist proposals. We are going to be putting out the next call for proposals, so please look out for it in the SVRI update. And for those of you who've not yet signed up to the update, we're going to be sharing links to all the documents mentioned and how to join the listserv. With all of you on the call and those that haven't been able to participate today but have already registered for the event. And now I'm going to hand over to you, Aisha, to really hear from our wonderful panelists to talk about what it was like to receive an SVRI research grant and some of the important work that they've been doing. Thank you so much. Over to you, Aisha.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Liz. And thank you so much, Preeti, and thank you, everyone. I'm thrilled to be moderating this panel with 3 of our grantee partners. And my only small regret is that we have so little time. We only have about 20 minutes for this panel. But I really hope that as you listen to them, you're able to get a flavor of some of the actually amazingly cutting edge work they're doing in the field. So I'm going to quickly introduce them, and then we're going to jump straight into the panel discussion. We have Minusha Gunasekara. She's the project manager at Shanti Margam in Sri Lanka. And she's led on the project creating a digital safe space for adolescents to break the cycle of the violence against women and children in Sri Lanka. This was funded by SVRI in 2022. And the app Paravi is her brainchild. Hopefully we get to hear a little bit about that. And welcome, Minusha. Our second panelist is Daniel Orego. He is the executive director of Football Mass Peru, an international organization that promotes wellness and happiness through football. Currently, he's also a student at the Institute of Development Studies, studying for a master's program in power, participation, and social change. Welcome, Daniel. And then we have Dr. Charbel Maida. Dr. Charbel is a founder and general director of Mosaic MENA and has been instrumental in generating substantial advancements in service provision, advocacy, and capacity development. Their engagement with the UK's Research and Innovation Global Challenges Research Fund as primary investigator demonstrates their dedication to intersectional research encompassing themes such as masculinity, sexuality, migration, and displacement. And very warm welcome to you, Charbel, and to all of you. And I suppose I should quickly say I'm Aisha because actually nobody knows me, and I am the Global Advocacy Director at SVRI. So thank you all so much for your time and for agreeing to be with us here today. And I'm going to jump straight to question one. And Charbel, if it's okay, I'm going to start with you. Just to quickly say, each of you has 3 minutes for this question. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to be a bit of a nasty timekeeper so that we get to hear from all of you. But I'll try to do it in not a very mean way. Charbel, could you please tell us more about your research, where it's being conducted, and what you hope to achieve from your research in 3 minutes or less? Sorry.
Sure. 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
go.
certainly. Our research focuses on the lived experiences of lesbian, bisexual, and trans women, refugees women, particularly in Turkey and Lebanon, because there was like really zero data on their situation in these two countries. This demographic endures a harsh continuum of violence that intersects various factors, namely time, space, and the actors involved, whether in their countries or of origin as refugees in both public and private spheres, from their homes to their workplace and social settings. These women face sexual, physical, verbal, and emotional abuse, coupled with economic violence, threats, exploitation, and more. Distinctly, in their home countries, many were subjected to forced marriage, domestic violence, corrective rape, and other severe forms of discrimination before fleeing. Through this research, we documented these mild forms of violence and exploring their roots in misogyny, homo, lesbo, bi, transphobia, xenophobia, and religious intolerance, etc. A key component we've discovered is the role of visibility, the extent to which individuals are perceived as non-conforming to traditional gender and sexual norms, and how it correlates with increased risk of violence and discrimination. Our primary objective were twofold. Firstly, to provide detailed evidence of these hardships to better inform service providers and the humanitarian organization. This evidence is crucial for developing tailored support and intervention that address the specific needs and vulnerabilities of LGBT refugees women. Secondly, we aim to influence policy and operational changes in both local and international realms, ensuring that intervention are sensitive and responsive to the unique challenges faced by this community. And soon we will be launching the 2 reports and many policy papers. And lastly, through our research, we wanted not only to highlight the intensity and pervasiveness of the violence these women endure, but also to contribute to a broader understanding and implementation of protective and supportive measures that respect and affirm the dignity of all LGBT individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that so quickly and clearly for us. And over to you now, Daniel, the same question. Can you tell us a little bit about your research, where it's being conducted, and what you hope to achieve?
Sure. In Football Mass, we believe that sports can transform realities of children and their communities. So our project is called Playing Safely, and we have been working with the Minister of Internal Affairs and local institutions for the last 3 years in Lima, Cusco, and Arequipa, 3 different regions in Peru. We are now, because of the grant, evaluating the impact of this intervention, which seeks to improve social-emotional skills and under a gender transformating approach. opening spaces to discuss topics such as their rights, gender equality, healthy habits, their relationship with other around them. So we conduct football sessions with children where they can learn about all these things at the same time that they practice the sport that they like. And it's very popular in Peru and other countries where football mass works in. We aim that the results can help or can build more evidence where public institutions or other organizations here in Peru and other parts of the world actually looks at sports and games as a way to foster community, but also as a way to tackle violence against children and women. In that matter, we expect to reduce harmful gender norms in children and also violence against children and also in adolescent dating relationships. We have carried this intervention during 2023. So right now we are waiting on the evaluation part, on the results. We partner with a local institution that's called GRADE, their research institute in Peru. So we also learned a lot about that partnership between like a fieldwork practitioner organization like us and the academia. So it was interesting also to look at that. And that was also one of the point that Liz highlighted on the of what SVRI was looking for. So that's a whole research project.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And over to you, Manusha.
Yes, so our research involves creating and testing a digital application for adolescents to improve their mental health services and support and aid behavior change, which means we are actually developing a youth-friendly mobile app to promote gender equal attitudes and recovery from childhood trauma. So the setting of this work is in urban low-income areas in Colombo, Sri Lanka, small Southeastern countries. So during pandemic, we learned the youth prefer to engage in more online spaces for social networks and also staying connected with the counselors at home. So with the ethical approval for both research and data tools, we actually engage with our youth, parents, and also counselors and service users of counseling and hotline services to design and develop the features of the app. In other words, it's the design thinking process. So with that help, we have created a very unique Sri Lankan app that represents their identity with easy access to counseling, self-help resources to maintain their well-being, and then also the gamified content learning where they set goals, measure progress for their milestones. So in addition to that, we have also used using a remote mobile data management service to monitor their engagement, geofencing, and also like how they exhaust mobile data and their behavior. So so in the phase 2, actually, we have provided 60 phones for adolescents between age 12 to 19 to test the process and the outcome. And of the tool using both pre and post testing. In addition to the baseline data, we are also collecting in-app data and inline data to see measure changes. So this app is a user-centric product developed with the users and also the local developers who are based in Sri Lanka. So we have in short term, we hope like our work is will improve access to mental health and recovery, promote gender equitable attitudes in adolescents. And also we have this mobile solution developed in global south in low middle income setting, which is can be replicated or applicable in similar setups around the world. So in medium term, we hope this will be a very valuable tool to access marginalized youth to promote gender equitable attitudes and support them in long term to contribute to the prevention of gender-based violence and violence against women and children around the world. So
thank you. Brilliant. Yeah, and I'm going to just stick with you, Manusha, for a minute and just give you a follow-up question to that. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the findings from the first phase of your study, and if anything at this stage has been surprising to you?
Yeah, so the phase 1 is actually about gathering data to design the application. So what we did was we had focus group discussions with 36 participants, 22 females and 14 males. The findings, major findings include especially for the youth, the cultural representation and identity. It came as a theme which is very important for them, which means the app to be one of the first actually to offer the content in local languages and also images, the landmarks, avatars to represent giving the feel of the global south more into the Sri Lankan aspects. The second theme we actually saw is the conflict between the need for privacy and representing their authenticity and individuality, especially in this generation. They want to have their own images, and also they want to be safe on this digital space. So there's like a friction between this, whether should they use their own photos or should we allow them to have their avatars. So what the solution was like, give them the both options and also share like how to be safe online. So the third one actually, when it comes to the mental health clients, what the major theme came up was actually the need for balancing the human interaction and the digital component. Because for them, empathy and the human interaction is important. And on the other hand, the confidentiality of their data, health data, and also anonymity is very important because we provide support at the LGBT community, young people who are having issues at home, all sort of things. So these are the main issues. The thematic areas came up in the phase one when we designed the application. Yeah, this actually led to the using a remote mobile device management solution also because we thought about the challenges working with adolescents in advance rather than making a reactive policy after finding out they are using like multiple apps in their phones in addition to ours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much, all three of you, for sticking to these horrendous time limits. So that was question 2 to you, Minusha. And question 2 to you, Charbal. I'm just going to pivot a little bit to be a little more general. And it would be great to hear more about why a granting mechanism like the SVRI grant is so important to the field, in your opinion.
Absolutely. Well, we were very lucky to receive the SVRI grant, to be honest, because the SVRI grant is fundamentally critical to our field, especially for research on sensitive and often marginalized topics like those involving the LGBTIQ plus community. This grant mechanism stands out due to its flexibility, professionalism, and supportive nature. It felt as if it's specially designed to empower organizations like us, led by and for the LGBTIQ plus community, enabling them to conduct research that directly pertains to their own experiences and needs. Like by giving the opportunity for an organization like us, again, to lead on research projects, the SVR grant ensures that the research is not only rigorous, but also resonant with the lived experience of those being studied. This alignment enhances the authenticity and relevancy of the research and making the findings more impactful and compelling. Moreover, the SVRI mechanism acknowledges the significant impact that community-led academic research can have on the lives of the participants themselves. By involving community members in the research process, the studies reflect a deeper understanding of the challenges faced and provide insights that are more actionable. When we share preliminary findings, for example, with donors and agencies, embassies, and other civil society organizations, they don't just acknowledge our findings, they take them seriously, and it's not like just academic article, and often use them to inform future recommendations. This level of acceptance and consideration is crucial because it means that our findings are not only heard by, but are also respected and acted upon. Like even activists, which is always have problems with activists and academia, within and outside our community, find these reports more credible and relevant as they are generated from within the community itself. So such a mechanism, to be honest, not only fosters greater inclusivity and representation, but also ensure that the outcomes of the research have a tangible positive impact on policy and practice, ultimately benefiting the community in substantial ways. Yeah, that's one.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. We're going to take those words and use them in everything we write from now. Thank you. Thank you for illustrating that so well for us. And just a connected question, Daniel, could you share an example for us of how the SVRI grant has perhaps specifically helped your work, your career, your research, your organization? Again, you've got 2 minutes for this.
Yeah, I think Charbel was mentioning about the opportunity of having time to reflect on what we do. I think that's something that was really important for us with the SVRI grant, because we get the chance to explore in a deeper way how a gender approach is included in our programs, what actually meant not only for us, but also for the community, the children that we work with, like what are they interested on this topic. So we actually look into all the sessions we do. So we started making questions about, okay, how can we talk about, for example, building self-esteem or healthy nutrition, but at the same time, the role that gender plays on those ideas, so we can actually be doing a really gender transformative approach. So I think that was a really good opportunity for us, and it was only possible because when we meet this this opportunity to have the SVR grant, we had more time to reflect, and also that's going to help us not only on what we do in the future, but also sharing with organizations in Peru and other countries that we work as Football Mass. And we're really happy and grateful because of that.
Thank you. That's amazing. And you're absolutely, I completely hear that about the time to reflect. We find that so important in all of our work as well. And I'm going to stick with you, Daniel, now for the last question. And we have done so well, guys. We have 1 minute each left for this last question, and then we're going to wrap up. But can you, Daniel, then say, you know, based on everything that you've been saying, what advice would you give for the new SVRI grant award? Like just one piece that you'd really like to impart.
I think it was really good for us that we set an advisory group in the beginning of the research to look at what we was doing, and that was possible because of the network that SVRI kind of provide us as a grantee. But at the same time, we had different local partners, grades, as I mentioned before, but like, for example, public schools that we were going to work with their students. So having that in mind, the collaboration and partnership that is involved in a research project, and how you can make everyone benefit from that partnership, I think that's something I would advise future grantees too.
That's a great piece of advice. Thank you, Daniel. And Minusha, same question to you. One thing you would like to,
First of all, congratulations, and undoubtedly you are well positioned to carry out this work and will rise for the challenges. But one thing we learned is for our work specifically, it's bridging the gap between research and technical teams, especially those who are working in when we are working with those who are unfamiliar with research projects. So for us, for our gamified content development, it required more time and resources than we expected. Second thing is unexpected risk and mitigation. You know, like when we started our work, it was the Sri Lanka's social and economic crisis which unfolded since April 2022. So it's very important to have the flexibility and communication with SVRI. We really appreciate that and that support to navigate those challenges. So, so this has been not just an opportunity to do the research, but an opportunity for collaboration and capacity building when it comes to project management funding. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And finally over to you, Charbel, that last question.
Sure. Well, okay, after when we started SVRI project, COVID-19 hits, revolution in Lebanon hits, Beirut blast, inflation, backlash on the community in both countries. So my advice is to have a proper risk assessment in place, because conducting research in our region, in regions characterized by political, economic, and social instability, such as what we've encountered with ongoing revolution, etc., I mentioned before, these are like demands meticulous risk management strategies. These conditions not only affect the safety and well-being to the research team and participant, but can also profoundly impact the continuity and integrity of the research itself. So research conducted in unstable region requires careful risk management strategies to ensure safety and integrity. That's my advice. And a detailed risk assessment should identify potential threats, including physical, psychological, and sociopolitical threats, and propose robust mitigation strategies. Contingency plans and digital security measures should be in place. That's my advice to protect sensitive information, especially with the topics that we work on. So the risk assessment should be a living document for me, regularly updated to reflect changing realities. To safeguard the integrity of research project, ensure safety, and enhances the credibility of findings, maintaining trust and cooperation amongst participants. That's my only advice, because based on our experience. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds like great advice. Plan for the unimaginable in a way. Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you all so very much. You've all actually done brilliantly. And I am really sure that I speak for the audience when I say I really appreciate your willingness to share your passion and expertise with us today. Thank you. I'm over. Back to you, Preeti.
Well, thank you, Aisha, and all the panelists. This was an amazing, very, very insightful panel. And I wish we could spend a little more time on this. But time is our worst enemy always. But with that said, now is the most exciting part of the webinar today is we meet our SVRI 2024 grantees. For the sake of accounting for the time zone differences, we are spanning from Mexico all the way to Vietnam, and to overcome the challenges of time constraints so that we are fair in giving our new grantees a chance to represent themselves and their projects, we have produced a video to introduce our grantees and their proposed research to you. Mama, could we play the video now? Just to note that all our grantees have joined the call now as participants, but we've not organized like a live panel. Instead, we have a video that comes from them. So I hope you enjoy the video.
Hi, I am Elizabeth Dartnell, the Executive Director of the Sexual Violence Research Initiative. The SVRI, with over 11,000 members, is the largest global network working to build knowledge to improve practices and prevent violence against women and violence against children in low and middle-income countries. Evidence and research build knowledge that is essential for finding solutions that end violence against women and children. Yet, unfortunately, when it comes to research, funding remains highly concentrated in high-income countries. We at the SVRI are unapologetically committed to addressing inequities in research funding between high-income and low- and middle-income countries. And one of the key ways that we do this is through our annual grant-making program, the SVRI Research Grant. This grant-making program has been generously supported by the Wellspring Philanthropic Fund, the Oak Foundation, Swedish CEDA, the International Development Corporation of Sweden, and the second What Works to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls project funded by the UK Aid Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. With this grant, we support and fund innovative research in low and middle-income countries led by researchers based in low and middle-income countries to ensure that the solutions presented are locally relevant, contextually appropriate, and effective in improving services and reducing violence experienced by women and children. After an extensive and a highly competitive process, this year 9 grants have been awarded. We are so excited to share with you the winners of the SVRI Research Grant for 2024. Please meet our grantees.
My name is Veronika Zinokova. I'm a researcher at Astra Foundation for Health Protection and Prevention of Violence. I work in Yerevan, Armenia. Our project is called Understanding Contextual Factors and Informing Methodological Approaches for Assessing the Prevalence and Risk Factors of Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation in Armenia. Researching child sexual abuse and exploitation is vital for shaping effective policies and practices. But first of all, we have to ensure the validity and cultural sensitivity of the research methodology, especially in a country like Armenia, which has a unique language, culture, and history. This project will also help people in governmental organizations, NGOs, and other stakeholders to learn how to use research data. Valid and reliable research helps to adjust prevention strategies and allocate resources more efficiently.
I'm Zaina El Zaid. I'm an assistant professor of sustainable architecture and urban design at Helwan University. I'm based in Cairo, the capital city of Egypt, where our project will take place. Our project is creating safe public spaces for women in Egypt, focusing on the impact of the built environment on the perception of safety for women. Our project addresses the link between the built environment and women's safety through research and education. It focuses on how public spaces and streets can be inclusive and eventually support women's participation, engagement, productivity, and economic growth. We will involve women, urban designers, architects, and students to develop a design toolkit for public spaces and streets that will support a higher sense of safety for women in cities.
My name is Gabayo Bagashau. I am a researcher at the University of Gondar. The focus of this research is on preventing technology-facilitated gender-based violence among students in Ethiopia through safety-related interventions. While the internet, social media platforms, and smartphones present rich universe of opportunities, they also expose young learners to the risks of technology-facilitated gender-based violence, such as cyberbullying, identity theft, and trolling. This research aims to build evidence on these emerging fronts of gender-based violence, which is imperative for developing policies and practices to reduce vulnerabilities to technology-facilitated gender-based violence. Our research will help advance this field by bringing forth evidence that will aid in the development of evidence-based response policies, initiatives, and services. This will ultimately lead to a safer online space for young boys and girls in their study environments or schools.
My name is Shohini. I live and work in New Delhi. I am part of Point of View, an organization based out of Mumbai, India. I'm working on this research project with Dr. Anya Kovats. The title of our project is Unpacking the Frame, Addressing Image-Based Sexual Abuse in India. The aim of this research is to build a conceptual understanding of image-based sexual abuse that is based on the lived experiences of gender and sexual minorities in India. We want to understand how and when images become tools or acts of violence and what this violence consists of. In turn, we plan to provide concrete recommendations to policymakers, law enforcement, digital platforms, and various other stakeholders to effectively address this form of abuse. Based on this richer, contextually sensitive knowledge, a stronger cross-sectoral response can be developed to prevent image-based sexual abuse.
Je m'appelle Taïren Zarachou. Je travaille à Projet Jeunes Leaders, une organisation non gouvernementale basée à Madagascar. Notre projet s'intitule Comprendre si et comment l'éducation complète à la sexualité est une intervention de prévention de la violence dans les écoles à Madagascar. Nous collaborons avec des chercheurs de l'École de santé publique de l'Université de Pittsburgh pour appliquer les méthodes de conception participative et centrée sur l'humain afin de comprendre comment et pourquoi notre programme affecte les connaissances, les attitudes et les expériences des adolescents malgaches en matière de violence. Nos résultats devraient éclairer les interactions contextuelles et centrées sur les jeunes du programme de PJL au fur et à mesure de son institutionnalisation dans le système éducatif de Madagascar.
My name is Carlos Bauche. I work at Pro Sociedad, an NGO specialized in developing, implementing, and evaluating evidence-based models aimed at reducing different public issues such as criminal and violent behaviors. Our project is called Construyendo Relaciones, or CORE. The Intimate Partner Violence Prevention Model targeting male offenders. CORE works with men who have committed violence in their relationships, aiming to reduce the likelihood of recurrence or escalation. It focuses on developing anger management, avoiding risky situations, and make better decisions. Our research aims to assess the design and coherence of the CORE program. This will allow us to determine its potential for replication as a gender-based violence prevention initiative in other Mexican states and Latin America. The findings of this project will help generate evidence to strengthen and guide public policy on gender-based violence prevention in Mexico and Latin America. It will generate new knowledge regarding interventions targeted at male aggressors as a means to prevent violence against women.
My name is Stephen Kaindane. I am the research associate working with Site Savers in Sierra Leone. The title of our research project is Safely at School, Reducing the Risk of School-Related Gender-Based Violence for Children with Disabilities in Sierra Leone. Our research will help to describe the needs and concerns of boys and girls with disabilities regarding school-related gender-based violence and co-develop disability-inclusive response strategies. This research will document the experiences of boys and girls with disabilities, and we will collaboratively create maps illustrating places where children feel safer and vulnerable. In addition, the evidence we generate will assist district-level education officials and other stakeholders to tackle the challenging issue of school-related gender-based violence, and will provide the much-needed information to inform national policies and inclusive education practices.
My name is Jeketeng Net. I'm an associate professor and head of the Division of Disability and Rehabilitation Studies at Stellenbosch University. The focus of our project is on gender-based violence and digital technology. We're focusing on how technologies variously promote, increase, and enable violence against women with disabilities. Our research is important because it explores the intersection of disability and technology-facilitated gender-based violence. It is also important because we're looking into how the same technologies that put people at risk could also enable spaces for women with disabilities to protect themselves, remain safe, and respond to violence. Through this project, we will help advance the field by establishing the level, intensity, prevalence, and frequency of technology-facilitated gender-based violence targeted at women with disabilities, and use this evidence to inform policy changes aimed at disability-inclusive response and prevention strategies. This project will also produce educational and advocacy resources for women with disabilities.
My name is Kim Tu Thị Trần. I'm a lecturer and researcher at University of Medicine and Pharmacy in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Our project is called Sexual Misconduct Among High School Students in Vietnam. The focus of our research is to understand the experience of sexual misconduct among high school students in Vietnam. The research also explores students' perception of their school support regarding sexual misconduct and how the school respond to this problem. This is really the first study exploring sexual misconduct among high school students in Vietnam. This will help schools administrators, parents, and youth have a more precise understanding of sexual misconduct and raise their awareness to build strategies to protect their children. Our research has the potential to contribute to a meaningful change in both policy and practice, leading to safer and more effective environment for high school students in Vietnam and beyond.
Since 2014, the SVRI Grants Award has provided for more than $9 million across 89 research grants in 53 low and middle income countries. The 2024 cohort of studies will conduct research on critical areas and will further evidence on preventing and responding to violence against women and violence against children, and will be guided by ethical and survivor-centered approaches. These cohort of studies will increase our knowledge in the field globally and will be shared with communities, researchers, practitioners, policymakers, and governments to support change in lives of those affected by gender-based violence. Thank you. Thank you, Morma, for playing the video. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. May I request all the 2024 grant winners, if you're present on the call, could you please kindly turn on your video so that we can see you on the screen together. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We would like to thank Lisa, all the panelists, our moderator, Morma, and the entire team behind today's webinar. We would also like to take this moment to acknowledge the applicants that applied to the SVRI grant. We acknowledge your efforts and the efforts and time it takes to submit the grant to SVRI. And we hope that you again consider applying this year too. The call for proposals for the SVRI 2025 grants will be announced on May 7th, 2024. So please check our website for more information. Thank you, everybody, and congratulations once again to the 2024 winners.